They raided a famous former UT professor, retired, who studies fish, because the old lady had a bunch of fish tanks in her house and lived alone, and that was the evidence for a warrant, saying she was using too much power. License plate scanning cameras, face scanning cameras up everywhere. It's just hellish what they've set up, and it's all a giant grid. Applied Digital, the Verichip Corporation, coming out and saying they've got the patents for implantable medical chips to prove that you've had all the shots you're supposed to have. That's all this current vaccine fear-mongering is testing the federalization of local communities and local police going under federal control. They use any big presidential or G20 or G8 or Fortune 500 event in the city for total lockdown with the Pentagon running the cities. The reports are pouring in mainstream alternative news, violating posse comitatus, National Guard on the streets of Kingman, Arizona, running checkpoints. We're going to play that video later when we're live at prisonplanet.tv. That's up on Infowars.com right now, one of the top stories. Panamex, 2009 U.S. military exercise to train soldiers impose pandemic martial law. They mean business, ladies and gentlemen. We're being domesticated and acclimated to go under total control. Why? Because they're about to destroy our free market economy, to bankrupt basically everyone, to make you all go under government control so they can have their way with you. We'll stay with us. Even if you support taking the very dangerous flu vaccines they push every year, even if you don't care the CDC's own internal documents admit that it causes and has been linked to serious neurological disorders, is it good that the government is quietly forcing counties and states to make a lot of their employees take it and make nurses and medical workers take it while telling them not to tell the public and not to speak out? I mean, is that freedom? Is it really freedom to have the government monitoring with a smart thermostat everything going on in your house? Is it really freedom to have face scanning cameras going up everywhere? Is it really freedom to now, if you take a picture of your daughter or son with a towel wrapped around them, they take your 2-year-old? Is that freedom? Is it freedom to give you $15 million fines for garage sales if you sell any recalled products, having no idea what's been recalled of the tens of thousands of products over the years? No. The system is changing all the regulations and rules and laws. This is just a government regulation with the flea markets and garage sales. It's a way to get in the average person's life, just the average hard-working person. You're the target of the criminals. When you have a tyrannical, that's all tyranny means is a criminal government. When you have a criminal government, they want you disarmed. They want you to psychologically accept being dominated. So they just march up and say, we're going to take your kids because the state wants to raise your kids, as their government textbooks and white papers admit. You would say, no, you're a tyrant, I'm going to fight you. But if they say, oh, your child's overweight. By the way, in England and the U.S., they've snatched thousands of children from being overweight that we know of. And first they use an example of some 10-year-old who weighs 300 pounds. And then next, in Arkansas, it's kids that are even a pound over the body index, which, according to their index, you've got to be extremely skinny. So it doesn't matter if you're husky. It doesn't matter if you've got a thyroid issue. It doesn't matter if they admit that mercury and MSG and all the pesticides destroy the glands. Even Time Magazine's admitting that in an issue I've got here with Glenn Beck on the cover. Madman. They admit in here that the pesticides in the food's making people fat. They don't care. They're going to take your kids. It's about taking your kids, breaking up your families. That's what they state in Eco-Science, written by John P. Holdren, the White House science czar. That's what they state in all these different government documents. That's what China does. That's the model of control. And we have a vicious predator class that has militarized the police, is now domestically using the military. They've basically gotten rid of posse comitatus through practice, through simple domination. And they have set up a system to engage in predator actions against the people. And they have created swarms of new bureaucracies and sent forth their officers to eat out our substance as the Declaration of Independent States. We know what tyranny is, and this is the most organized, mechanized, scientifically focused, wide spectrum tyranny and oppression and despotism that I have ever studied or looked at. This dwarfs them all, and it's just now been constructed and built, and the finishing touches are being put on it, and it's being expanded, and it is metastasizing like a cancer throughout the body right now. And its goal is not to conquer you. Just like the Goldfinger quote, when James Bond says to Goldfinger, "Do you expect me to talk?" And he says, "No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die." There's no quarter. This is total domination. What did the Romans do to Carthage after they beat Hannibal? They killed everybody in the city, burned it to the ground, had their engineers come in, their Army Corps of Engineers, their Centurion engineers, and pull down every major facility, every major building. And then they took salt, which was money at the time, very expensive, tons of salt, and threw it into all the fertile fields so that you couldn't grow there for hundreds of years. God help us. That's what we're facing now, and that's what neo-feudalism is. And literally, I couldn't count them all last night and this morning. If you go to the search engine and type in the term New World Order and click News, hundreds of reports the last week. World government, New World Order. Gordon Brown says he wants global tax. Prince Charles says you shouldn't be able to own a car. Taxes on this, taxes on that. And then right out in the open, it's admitted that they want to set up a one-child policy starting with getting rid of the tax credit. California's trying to pass that at the state level. First, they're going to get rid of the tax credit for when you have children because of their expense. And then overnight, England, Australia, New Zealand, many areas of Europe are announcing huge multi-$1,000 a year fines for more than one child. And some countries are saying children, period. They're going to bankrupt the jobs, get you on government welfare and government control, and just tax you. And then if you can't afford the children and you go on welfare, they're going to take them and they're going to sterilize your children and rape the ones that strike their fancy. God help us. This is so hellish. Why do we have to have this happen? We got to get in the streets and take action and speak out against this. But I'm going to tell you something right now. Just like the establishment as social engineers that study how humans operate and how people tend to stand up and resist peaceably, Bill Clinton was put in power to expand every policy of George Herbert Walker Bush. Seamless integration between the presidents. After they're out of office, they admit they've been buddies the whole time. 11 meetings between George Bush Sr. and Clinton when he was governor. Private meetings on record. Totally staged. For a time when the CIA section chief in London ran Hillary and Bill. That's now declassified. Then in the mid-'70s, when he was CIA director, George Herbert Walker Bush managed and handled William Jefferson Clinton. They then ran narcotics together at Mina. I've had the CIA officers on record. It's admitted, even on the local news there. The point is it's seamless integration from Bush, Clinton, Bush, Obama. Totally seamless. And when Bill Clinton came in and started going after the guns and saying we want to disarm people and admitting it on MTV, they knew there'd be a resistance. So they put Newt Gingrich in with a contract on America, not for America, to act like a conservative, but then to discredit and to derail the freshman Republicans and to make sure there wasn't a real rebellion in the House. It's the same thing. And now they know both parties are discredited, so that won't work. So you already have these giant tea parties and demonstrations happening everywhere. First, the media demonizes it, says it's all staged by Republicans. wasn't true. Then Glenn Beck, who had been maneuvered into the position, began sponsoring giant events and then taking them over. And you'll have 2 million people who can't even hear what Glenn Beck's saying at the head of them on loudspeakers. And then they have in front of the media Glenn Beck and Fox News directing them and telling them what to say and do. Media Matters, George Soros puts it up showing it staged to discredit it. Glenn Beck poses for the cover of Time magazine, sticking his tongue out. The cover of Esquire, fake crying. He's meant to discredit us. And at key points, to call for Ron Paul supporters' arrest, to call for the military to be used against Ron Paul supporters, to say there are no FEMA camps when the mainstream media is admitting they're FEMA camps and saying they're good. He comes out and says they don't exist. He comes out and supports the banker bailout. He meets with Bush more than any other talk show host in private meetings. That's on record. We can play clips of him saying, I've met with President Bush.